What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Real Talk. I am the Brett Man Stewart. Alongside with me is my co-host Brad, your boys from Good Real Hunting. Brad, how are you doing today?
I am perfection, man. How are you, my friend?
Man, I am good. Maybe if I just can rip off my left arm and then try to regrow another one and make it feel better. But other than that, though, I'm doing good.
I don't know exactly what that's all about, but
Don't ask questions you
it's
don't want
worth a
answers
shot.
to.
It's worth a shot.
It's
Uh,
okay, man. It's all good though. I'm here. But you know what? Who also is here is our second ever guest on Real Talk. But real quick about that again. What's Real Talk all about? Real Talk again is when we bring on content creators from YouTubers or to anybody that makes content that we really just want to have that real conversation with. And we got a very good one today. And before we bring them on here, where can you listen to Real Talk? You can listen to us by YouTube in the podcast section, or we're also available on Spotify, Apple Pod, and we're actually on Podbean. Not only is that our main source for a podcast, but it's also a podcast platform as well. So if you're a fan of Podbean or you use it to listen to all your favorite podcasts, including us, you can listen on there as well. So, Brad, without further ado, should I bring him on, or do you have anything else to say before we bring on our guest?
no, I don't, man. Let's see who it is. I'm excited to get into this.
Well, I think we kind of already gave away with this little logo
Yeah.
down here, but it is time. Let's bring on our second ever guest on Real Talk. He is a newcomer that I've been noticing lately, and he's making a big wave on the horror community right now. So let's get to know him better. Let's have a real discussion. Let's bring on Davey Deathray!
What's happening, guys? How you doing?
My throat's a little sore after that introduction, but other than that, I'm good.
That was very flattering. I was like, oh, wow, I'm making a big wave. All right, that's good to know. It's tough to judge yourself, so it's always nice to hear that validation from others, for sure.
Oh, no, absolutely, dude. And I actually got some questions about that big wave, too, because I've been noticing I always study the competition, but, in a friendly way, not, of course,
Yeah.
an aggressive way, like, how dare you? But, like, because, like, we appreciate new faces in the horror community, and we want everybody to succeed. So we're glad that you even just take time out of your day. This is, as of this recording, this is technically your birthday weekend. So for you just to spend time to hang out with us, we really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get to this age and you're just sort of like, well, I celebrated on my birthday, and what else can I do just to keep this thing moving forward? Because, when you're feeling that momentum as a content creator or just like any creative person out there, I'm sure, like writers, filmmakers, visual artists, all that stuff, like when you're feeling the wave, you just got to keep on riding it, right? So yeah, let's get cooking.
Yeah, dude. The wave of
Oh,
Davey,
yeah.
dude. The Davey wave. I like it.
Good. Yeah, the Davey Ray wave. Yes, sir. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's not waste any time. We got a couple of questions me and Brad do. So this is like our own personal question portion of this podcast. So just to get to know you a little bit better, and for the audience or the listeners to get to know you as well. So my first question is always going to be the first question I ask every single guest that comes on here. How did you find Good Real Hunting? And you can be honest here. This is a real conversation, real talk. And what did you think about us?
Yeah, so I think sometimes it's tough to remember exactly how you find content creators. YouTube will obviously recommend things. But I watch a whole bunch of different kind of stuff. So I watch a lot of sports content, music, video games, a little bit of politics, like not as much lately. But of course, a lot of movies and horror content as well. So I can't remember if it was just YouTube suggested it, or it could have also been like sometimes people in the community recommend you guys. So I know it was one of those two ways, that it was either like a live chat somewhere else. And, when I first chimed in, it's like, anytime you jump into one of these channels, you're just sort of like getting to know the people and trying to gauge as quickly as you can how genuine people seem. I don't mind, like polish to me isn't like a bad thing or anything. But I do think, like, I'm a big fan of punk rock. So I'm a big fan of just like real people doing their real shit, and that totally fits everything you guys do, even your moniker. It fits.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just really like the fact that whenever there's two personalities that are different, but there's that common interest. So you guys got me with that as well.
Dude, that's awesome, man, because me and Brad could not be any more different. He's the calm and cool and collected one, and I'm the over-aggressor and panicky one.
Yeah. He
I
likes
wouldn't go
Halloween
that-
Ends, and you don't. That's
That's
the
Oh
real
my
true.
gosh,
difference
I
right
couldn't
there.
believe we were over this with that horror. With that
I'm a
horror
huge fan. I'm a
last
huge
episode.
fan.
Dude, hell yeah, man. I love it.
God.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anytime we get somebody on here which Bertie, it seems like it happens more often than not that
Do we
whoever
need to
comes
start
on.
making a counter for Halloween ends to go along with our
Well-
other last question of the episode?
Yeah, it
Maybe.
sounds like it.
Yeah. I mean, I
Oh,
understand why
man.
people don't like it. It's totally understandable. I just don't feel that way. And I think even if you don't like the story elements, like the film looks and sounds gorgeous. So I mean, like it's not like offensively made, but I get it if the story ain't for you, for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. It's definitely
Well,
divisive.
again, it's Corey Cunningham. I love Corey Cunningham, but everything else can go screw off. So
that's the
but,
real difference right there.
I see.
But I stuck around
Davey is a quick
anyways.
learner. He's a
Fortunate for
quick
you,
learner.
Bertie, Corey Cunningham's 85% of the movie, so that means you 85% like the movie.
Oh, jeez. You could fill up the whole show with this Halloween Ends stuff.
Man.
It's the
Like,
gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
Yeah.
Oh man, like we're so already into it. I kind of already want. Nah, I'm just kidding. We want to keep you here because again, here at Good, like for Good Real and Real Talk, that we love different opinions on here. So
Yeah.
that's awesome that you love Halloween Ends. Like I'm personally happy for you. I'll just take what I can get from it. But that's so cool that you think what you thought about us and all that and how you found us. But I wanted to ask you the next question here of like what made you decide to be a YouTuber or like a content creator? What gave you that motivation?
So I've been a huge YouTube fan, like audience member since about like 07, 08. Angry video game nerd, like all that kind of classic stuff that I think most people, at least most people my age, that's probably how they got introduced to the platform. And probably about 5, 6, 7 years later, started watching guys like Drum Dums and Wolfman's Got Nards and all that. And I mean, I've always been a huge film fan, a big music fan, and with film, it's always been like comedy and horror for me. So I kind of gravitated to creators like that. And then, in like 2017-ish, like 2018, when Dave McRae really hit it with the Halloween 2018 like update videos, that's when I realized like, oh, this is a guy that like, I feel like we've got a lot in common as far as like personality. And I'm like, but he's talking about it like he knows the industry. So I just like watched more and learned more about him. And I felt like that kind of analysis was really cool. And that was sort of like took my interest to a whole new level. And like long story short, to just cut from, watching a shitload of YouTube in between 2017 and last year, when they were doing the It's Me Billy Chapter 2 campaign on Indiegogo, I was like back and forth. Should I become an associate producer? Like, should I get this perk, that perk? And just battling it in my head. And my wife, Kate, was like, well, if you're going to do that, you need to like just pull the ripcord. You need to like become an associate producer, start your channel, and just like do the thing that you've been talking about doing for the whole time I've known you. So that was really encouraging. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger on that, became an associate producer, decided that's going to be it. I can't go back anymore because now I've invested some money. So now I have to put my mouth there along with it. And I got to meet Dave McRae that night. It was July 10th last year at Mad Monster. He was dressed up in his Freddy makeup. And he was really encouraging too. I told him, I was like, hey man, just became an associate producer today. And I've decided to take the dive and start my own channel. And he was like, well, maybe this will be the beginning of something really great for you. And I thought that was such a sweet thing to say, especially somebody in his position that's influenced so many of us and all that kind of stuff. So that was pretty much it. I was like, well, I can't turn back now or else I'd look like a total chicken shit. So got to stand up and do something at some point in your life.
So Davey, are you saying you're a chicken fucker?
Chicken fucker.
But yeah, I grew up playing music. So like entertaining people is something I've always wanted to do since I found punk rock at like age 12 or 13, So once that kind of chapter in my life closed, there was this, when you feel like you're a creative person or you're a creative person and you don't let it out, it turns into like depression and just like not the best habits and just all that kind of stuff. It just sort of backs up inside of you. So I knew I needed to find another outlet. And boy, oh boy, man, especially since the new year, like it's been just incredible. What an experience so far. I'm so excited to see what the future holds.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How long did you consider starting a channel before you took the plunge?
Probably like 09 or 2010.
So it's been a minute, dude.
I
A lot
sat on it for
Yeah.
way too long. That's why I was sort of like, you know what, if I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to try to get it right from the very beginning, and I'm going to just learn as much as I can as I go along, and have fun with it, of course, but make sure that I'm, you know, treating it seriously, and at least being like professional in the way that I treat people and the way that I approach it. Because, you know, just like all of us, I'd love to do this, you know, as a full-time thing. So I just kind of have to treat it like that and just let go and be myself, you know?
Yeah.
It's all about that and making sure I'm keeping balance with everything else in my life.
That's fantastic. Well, you've done a really good job. I mean, you've been doing this for like about, have you hit a year yet? I mean, it's been
August, pretty much.
August?
I mean,
Yeah.
technically I did like a spoiler-free review of Dylan's New Nightmare on my iPhone in July after I saw it at Bad Monster, but it was like the pre-screening, so it wasn't even the final version of the film. And that was just sort of like, all right, I'm gonna, no matter how, I'm just gonna put out my first video. So that was probably like the 12th of July. But really, I consider the beginning as like August, because I don't think I did another video until August, and I put like 2 or 3 out that month, and really didn't like hit it hard, or well, hit it relatively hard until like November, December.
That's awesome.
You know, go ahead.
I was gonna say you've been crushing it since then. Like every couple
thank
of
you,
weeks,
man.
it seems like you get another 100 subscribers. You're growing really, really well. I could tell a lot of work and the preparation went in before you even started the channel. Your production value is really good. It's better than a lot of channels that's been doing this for a long time. Got a good sound, everything. Nice background. There was some epic stuff, Michael Myers, all that. So how much kind of preparation did you have like going in? Like how much did you try to find the best equipment and all this stuff? And like how much did you actually like think about this before? It seems like it's quite a bit, right? I mean,
yeah. So I have luckily like the nice microphone because I have that musical background, and I would record music. So I'd play in little bands and like record our records and stuff. So it's a Rode Procaster. It's everyone knows the mic. It's a really great vocal mic. Honestly, you could record like a whole record with this thing if you had to. So that I just brought over from that musical chapter of my life. My first good bunch of videos were done on a Canon EOS, and that was a camera that I've had for about a year. But I didn't really play around with it too much until just shooting the vids. And then so I kind of just had those things in the waiting. I knew I needed LEDs, obviously. I knew I needed like the key light, like the ring light thing. So it was just sort of like, well, let's see what's obvious from watching other people's stuff. And I want to make sure it's alluring, but I want to make sure it's personal. I don't want to, it's not so much about like imitation. It's more about like inspiration and then trying to find a way to make it my own. So yeah, just the nerdy stuff behind me. These are all things I really love. I need to find a way to get this Mystery Science Theater poster down here because it's gorgeous. And that's like maybe one of the most influential, pieces of media in my entire life. So yeah, like I would say maybe my whole life I've been preparing for it, but really it didn't take too much. It was just sort of like, let's buy a couple things. And then as I did videos, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to like invest in this now because now I've learned some things about editing and I know this or that. So just like taking a little bit from each paycheck and just kind of investing in it. Yeah. And then now I just got StreamYard like last week and just trying to get a little smoother with that and be able to engage the audience more, which is definitely something I learned from you guys and really like about what you do. Your audience engagement is second to none. And I think like for people that go around and hop from show to show, from live to live, they love seeing their name up there. They love feeling like they're a part of it, which they are either way, but it's really cool to get that acknowledgement. That's one thing that I always strive to do. And something that I look for in content creators, which, man, the way I feel about watching people now has totally changed since I've been doing this for the last like 9 months. It kind of makes you look at people maybe that you liked before and be like, hey, just look at them in a different light, good and bad, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of like understand that because like I used to be a like in the chat of like supporting YouTubers, and I do get let down a lot. Sometimes like they don't like acknowledge me quite as much, or
Hmm.
exchange or playing favorites with like some of their like older audience members. And after
Hmm.
actually kind of like how you allude to, like sitting in this chair and doing it yourself and experiencing all that, you could kind of understand, okay, this ain't as easy try to acknowledge everybody as much as it
Yeah.
seems. So like I appreciate you saying that because I felt that way a long time. But then once I got in this chair, I do me and Brad, we do the absolute best we can to acknowledge everybody, to make
Hmm.
everybody feel equally important. It's just
Yeah.
now when me and Brad now get around like the 25 to 30 people, it's really hard to do. Like for a
Yeah.
really good stream, but for like a little
Yeah.
stream, we can mostly get to everybody. But man, I've been paying attention to you since you've been like really just in the YouTube game. I've noticed
Mhm.
that you've gotten like 15 to 20 people in your chats. So that actually it's a nice segue to this next question I have here. Like, how do you feel personally like getting all this? I want like quick support from the YouTube community and the horror community. Like since you started up your channel, really hitting hard at it. How's it feel to get all that quick support?
I mean, so it's like overwhelming, and sometimes it makes me like a little emotional, kind of thinking about it.
Awesome.
Especially if I acknowledge, like if I always try to acknowledge that either in the middle of the stream if it just hits me to bring it up, but always at the end as well, just to show that appreciation because coming from that music world, YouTube is kind of the new form of it's a new part of show business. In the music world, certainly there are people that have your back and lift you up and help you out, but it is a lot more competitive in my experience.
Mhm.
People will say nice things to your face, get you to book them a show, and then when you reach out to them, there's crickets.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then you see them start rising in their levels of success, but it doesn't seem like they're trying to bring any of their brothers or sisters along with them. So,
Mhm.
I feel like at least my experience so far in YouTube has been completely supportive. I don't even get like hateful comments, which I hope they come because that means that I'm successful at that point. But the way the content creators have been treating me, the way people have reached out or responded when I reach out is really amazing, and it's inspiring. It helps fuel me. It makes me feel like out of all the false starts I've had and the creative things that I've tried to do in my life, I started my first band when I was 13, but being a musician for a living just wasn't in the cards for me. So it feels really good that maybe I finally found something where my voice resonates with people. And I'm really feel like if I can keep on going and keep on getting better, that it's just gonna grow from there. So yeah, man, it's crazy when I'm like, I had 19 people in there or whatever in a live
Mhm.
chat. I just think like that's so cool because every time I jump in, I'm like, is this going to be the one where no one shows up? Because it could happen at any point, right? So yeah, and I would just plow through and do the show anyways because that's I would
Mhm.
I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so I spent a lot of time looking in the mirror and entertaining myself like Andy Kaufman or something like that. So this is just an extension of that.
Yeah, I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
it could happen. I know we've had our share of shows like that back in the day,
Oh god,
but
like
we got
it
through
was
it.
it was rough, man. Like that's why I was like, damn, if we got to know Davey when we first, like if we actually started and just learned from Davey, it's like this is how we were supposed to do it. Like, dang gum, like it took us what, Brad, like 3 years to finally get like a consistent like 15 people or something like that.
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, I don't know exactly when it started getting really consistent, but it took a minute. I mean, there were plenty of streams where we're in single digits and
Mhm.
Yeah,
most
but the
but it was
people that
still
come over to my streams are people that I've met like in your chat room or Dave's chat room or the Slaughtered
Mhm.
Lamb movie podcast, and each one of you guys have shouted out the channel in multiple streams. So I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to get to 15 people or whatever in the live chat if it weren't for getting to know those people through you guys and then you guys supporting and promoting the channel. So
Mhm.
yeah, who knows how long it would have gone on if it just had to develop naturally. But I guess that's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, man, you're on the right track. Just like keep it steady. And you know, keep on being yourself and staying true to you know, what you want to cover on the channel, and you know, acknowledging the people that help you get there, and remembering to talk about lifting up the community, not just the creators lifting each other up, but also with the audience as well. Hey guys, Davey Deathray here, just stealing the show away from Brett and Brad for a second so I can talk about the links in the description below. Of course, you can follow me on social media. I'm really active on Instagram and Twitter, a little bit on TikTok and Letterboxd, just not as much. However, we did just open a Teespring shop if you want to get some Davey Deathray merch. We've got shirts, mugs, fanny packs for each one of the 3 main shows we have on the channel, which is really fun. And we also just started a Patreon. So, you know, if you want some behind the scenes footage, if you want some input on some of the movies we review, and just exclusive access to the content on the channel, feel free to check that out as well. Really appreciate it if you just like and subscribe to the channel though. That's all I ask. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the rest of the interview.
All right, Davey. I got a question here because I know since you did birthday stream, like as per this recording, it was yesterday. You did a movie night with your wife named Kate, and you all watched Scream 2. And you all had such a fun dynamic when I was watching. I was like, oh, you know what? They're really good together. Well, husband and wife, you're supposed to be good together, but like on camera could be a little different. But I felt like you all were awesome. So I actually had this curious question of like, is it just going to be that one show, or is there going to be more plans in the future of the channel where Kate will get more involved?
I would love for Kate to get more involved. Right. You know, it was like pulling teeth getting her to do that show with me, because I think I came up with the name like last fall. So it was probably like October where I was like, movie date with Davey and Kate. And I like sketched out what the logo would look like and all this stuff. And, you know, I kept on telling her like, let's do the show. And she's like, well, what's the show going to be? I'm like, well, we just have a stream of consciousness conversation about a movie that we both like really know and love. So it's not like a straight up review, and it's not something where, you know, to have that kind of stipulation where we both really know the movie kind of like pinpoints it a little bit. So, you know, she's about 11 and a half years younger than me. So she grew up in a totally different generation. So it's interesting to see some of the movies that were movies when I was a kid, like Beetlejuice is one of her favorite movies, but she was born like 5 years after Beetlejuice came out. Yeah. So kind of cool for, it's like, you know, I seeing it from my perspective and then versus her perspective. And, you know, she wasn't really into too much horror stuff before we met. So, but, you know, we cover a lot of horror on the channel because we put out polls for people to vote on, and people love that horror. So, so like, I think our first ever date was on a Friday the 13th before Valentine's Day 9 years ago. And we watched Jason Lives that night. So that was like her first foray into real, like legit horror. So, but yeah, ever since then, she's fully on board. We watch those movies so much. So yeah, I love having that just kind of open discussion. The great thing about doing a live show with it is we get to hear the perspective and memories and stories of all the people in the chat, which is really cool too. And yeah, we don't plan too much the conversation. It's sort of like we know what topics we're going to talk about, so we can think about them. But yeah, as far as her working outside of that show, we did do a review together of Late Night with the Devil. That was like her first, you know, kind of breakout on the channel, just to do something. So I'd like to do some more reviews with her if we go see something new at the theater. That would be awesome to do that with her. And then she's a really good like baker, and she's a really good like chef and all that kind of stuff. So, but I kind of want her to start her own channel where she can do that, and she practices yoga and is like really passionate about yoga and like positive affirmations and that kind of stuff. So I kind of want her to like start her own thing for those you know, for those ideas, but also yeah, be as involved as possible on the channel. I like the dynamic, and yeah, it's cool to work together for sure.
Oh, dude, that's so cool. And if she ever does make that jump, let us know. We'd be happy to promote her work as well.
Oh, for sure.
Because again, we're one big community, and you know, since she does that show with you with watching movies, technically she's part of our community now. So we support everybody in our community. Brad, thank you so much for being a trooper. I got one more question because you actually allude to one of my other questions about like doing full time or just for making it fun. If you want want to include in this answer, you can, just in case you want to clear that up, whether if you want to be a YouTuber like full-time or just doing it for fun. But my real last question, I know you're just like kind of like new to our community and all that, and just like really getting started with content creating, and you're on such a roll right now. So is there any advice that you want to give, or somebody were to ask you, say, hey, Davey, do you have any advice for me? Just like with you just being around the 600 sub count, like, which trust me, you're going to get to 1,000 pretty quickly. I can already tell it's going to happen for you. So any advice you would give a fellow content creator or somebody that is looking into starting content creating?
Yeah, I would say just do it. Like, just make your first video. Like, just don't dip your toe in it. Dive right off the cliff. I feel like that was like a big watershed moment for me. And even though my first video was on an iPhone, I think my first few videos were on my iPhone. By the third video, I had ordered like little lav wireless mics, so I didn't have to go off like the microphone the microphone on the phone or anything like that. And it was just, I caught the bug like right after doing that. And so I feel like, you just have to dive in. If there's something that you feel like you can contribute to the space, or you've got, you want to get your voice out there and say your piece, just start doing it, and then let the inspiration like wash over you. Pay attention to the people that you look up to. And also, just be true to yourself. And you're going to find that at some point you'll be able to reach out to some of those people that you look up to. You'll be able to ask them questions and learn things from them while still like respecting, their space as you kind of like grow within the community, and just let things happen naturally. And, not only dive into the content creation side, but one thing that I made it a point to do is to dive more into the audience side, see what I was missing, find channels like your guys's, and, just say, you know what, I'm going to invest more time into the whole part of the community, not just the creation side of it. I think those elements you're just going to find success. So most people that start a YouTube channel are already in the audience side of it. So it's, keep that going, maybe take it up a notch, and then also start contributing, and just try to get better with each video. And yeah, I mean, of course, I'd love to do it as a living. I'm not looking to, coming from that like punk rock background that I have, I'm not looking for some sort of big, like easy payout or cash grabby, kind of sellout sort of thing. So I'm always going to cover what I want to cover on the channel, and I'm always going to be honest and give people, what they've been coming for, for the whole time I've been doing it. So no matter what level of success I reach, you're always going to get the genuine article. I can promise you that much. And hopefully it can be something that becomes a big part of my life. I mean, I'd spend like 80 to 90 hours a week doing this if it were my job. I would put everything, it would be amazing, and it would just keep fueling me for the next one. So I'm kind of addicted at this point.
No, dude, that's so awesome. And I could just tell, like, for our conversation so far, like the passion's there, and you're just being yourself. And that is actually the advice I normally give people, is definitely be yourself, because the first thing that audience members are going to notice when they watch a brand new channel, whether somebody's being fake or not. And when I first started watching you, I was like, no, this guy is not, like, he's doing everything the right way. And if you do things the right way, I'm not only going to support you, but I'm going to make sure to help your channel out as well.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And really appreciate that. And it does feel nice when you feel like it's well earned. And even like, the live stuff is really fun. That might take a little, like, I kind of held off on the live thing until I felt like I had a big enough audience to where people would start showing up. And the pre-recorded thing was interesting though, too, because you want to make sure everything seems natural, but obviously you're doing multiple takes and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, people shouldn't be afraid to sort of just let go and let their true self out. If the joke doesn't work, then fine, like whatever. But I just sort of think of it as like, well, just imagine, because, we've all been in that situation where there's like a group of people gathered around and they're talking about something. I'm always that guy that, like, in my group of friends would be Mr. like stand-up comedian about the whole thing. And so I'm just like, well, that's, I'm not a stand-up comedian clearly, but I try to inject a little bit of that kind of feel from time to time in my videos, just to keep things light and natural. And that's just kind of the way I am. I'm a big old blah 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 kind of guy. So so no wonder I fell in love with what Dave McRae does, right?
No, dude. Hey, that's a great channel and a great person to get inspiration from. So, dude, that's so awesome. Brad, my friend, I apologize over there. I know I was taking a lot of questions here. So I'm just actually going to tune it over to you. I know you got some good questions lined up. So, Brad, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I watched a couple of your rankings, and I saw a few things that you did, specifically within Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street that I'm the same way when it comes to the ranking. And sometimes it's not really a popular. We'll just get into it right now. Okay, I saw you have Jason Takes Manhattan as the worst movie in the franchise, worse than Jason Goes to Hell. I agree with that. I think Jason Goes to Hell or Takes Manhattan's boring as hell. But I just wanted to see if you would elaborate a little bit on, why you hate Jason Takes Manhattan a little bit more than Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so boring. It's pretty sanitized. At that time, the MPAA was just wreaking havoc on slasher films. So, everyone knows about Part 7, and that's the one that usually gets talked about as far as like the neutering goes of the gore. But I think Takes Manhattan has the same problem. So, and I would say that whole weird scene where like the guys in the alleyway like shoot up Rennie with the drugs and they're like, about to assault her. It just feels like really dirty and it goes on for a long time. It's just one of these elements where I'm like, kind of like the Tivoli thing in Halloween Kills, where it's like, this is not the kind of tragedy and sadness that I need in a slasher movie. I'd rather focus on like Jason or Michael. And that's where like the torment and the horror comes from. So and I'll give Jason Goes to Hell a little bit of an edge because it is creative. Like not everything works for me that they do, but it is creative. And I'll always give movies that take chances have a little bit of a special place in my heart. So even if the overall product isn't like something that I would herald, it might give it some more points there. So, Jason Goes to Hell does have some moments. I'm forgetting the character's name, but the guy, is it Steven? The guy when he does jumps over the handcuffs, grabs the gun out of the cops. I'm just like, this is so much fun. Like this is a fun character that looks like a total nerd, but he's like, I wish this guy were in more Friday the 13th movies. Even if the movie isn't great, there are certain elements that stand out. In Jason Takes Manhattan, other than a couple like shots, I don't think there's much that really stands out that's that memorable.
Yeah, I would concur. Now, I know Birdie.
Trying to be nice.
I think that's his favorite movie in the whole franchise. Birdie.
I do like the bitchy blonde chick that does coke. She's hot. I'll give her that.
Yeah,
she always. One time I was like,
project.
Kate, you kind of look like her. Now I know it.
Well, so on the flip side of that, your favorite movie in the franchise was Jason Lives, which was over Part 4. And you mentioned earlier, and I think you maybe even mentioned this in the ranking as well, that obviously your first was it your first date with your wife? You watched this on Friday the 13th, the first. So
yeah, like I was familiar. It was my favorite before that, but and that's why I picked it for that one. But yeah, it's even more special because of that.
Yeah, that's
I think
a cool
I stepped
story.
all over your question there.
No. That's kind of what I was going for. Because I was going to ask if it was your favorite prior to that, or if that was something that kind of changed it for you. But
Part 4 used to be my favorite. Like Part 4, when I originally got into the movies, like just loved the final chapter. There's something like it just feels a little more real. I really like Ted White's like grunting as Jason, just makes him feel a little more visceral than he's ever felt before. He kind of runs as well. I like that. I just like the look of Jason in Part 4. The ancillary characters are really fun and charming and memorable. I mean, Judy Aronson is like one of the most gorgeous women of horror, like right up there with like Barbara Crampton, and they still look amazing to this day. And of course, Crispin Glover's really charming. Everyone talks about the dance, but I just think he's so natural as an actor in that movie. You're just like, you can sort of tell when an actor is kind of above the movie that they're in. I think Kevin Bacon in the original Friday the 13th, I think he's really good for the little bit that he's in there. You can sort of see that there's a little something more there. So yeah, I mean, Part 4 was my original favorite, but Part 6, it just kind of won me over with that humor. And then
Dude, it
seeing it with Kate on our first date is that just put the nail in that coffin right there.
Yeah, it's just, it's not a, it never gets boring. It's always fun. I like it for that. Now,
And let's call this little segment called let's figure out how to rip Brett's heart open. Like, my God.
You look like Haas in the beginning of the movie. He got his heart
What
pushed
do you
out.
hate? Do you hate the final chapter? Or you love the final chapter?
No, final chapter is my absolute favorite Friday the
Yeah.
13th movie and slasher movie of all time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just you saying that, I used to love part 4. It used to be my number 1, and now we're going to replace it with part 6. So now you're on Brad's team. So
I still love it. Oh my gosh, it's part 2. It's part 2. You should watch the ranking. It's really damn good.
Yeah, it's still
Joseph Zito between the Prowler and between the final chapter, like those two. I think he's, one of the best, slasher directors. Just from those two movies, I'll give him that because both of them are so damn good.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, are you a farhead?
Yeah, I also saw too, like on the next side of moving over to Nightmare on Elm Street. And Birdie, this will make you happy too. My man down here, he's got the remake as the worst movie in the franchise, worse than Freddy's Dead, man. And I like that because I'm actually the same way. I would put the remake last, and then Freddy's Dead.
Yes, easy.
Yeah, so
that's easy for me.
Yeah, I mean, tell me a little bit about it, man.
There's a big gap between Freddy's Dead and the remake, and the reason why is even though the makeup doesn't look so good in Freddy's Dead, there are moments that are fun. Robert is still doing everything he can with that script. For me, the effects at the end especially are what kind of takes me out of it even more. Great Goo Goo Dolls to start off Freddy's Dead. But man, the 2010 remake is so not all the acting is very good. I would even say Jackie Earle Haley is completely underwhelming as Freddy. And it's one of these things where it's like, is Freddy even supposed to be scary in that movie? It's like they want you to think he's scary, but the things he's saying, I don't know if they would scare a grade schooler. It's this really obvious, like cringy, cheesy dialogue. Like it might as well come straight out of Halloween Kills. Some of the dialogue, like, because he says these things that like you think on surface level should be great, but I don't know. I thought Freddy was boring, and like that's the worst thing that you could have from your slasher. So I do think that Kyle Gardner did a good job, and what's the actress's name? That Rooney Mara, the lead. Yeah. I thought everyone talked about how she didn't want to be in the movie, and you can see it on when you watch the film. I actually thought she did pretty okay. But man, you don't find out until like there's 20 minutes left in the movie exactly what the heck's going on with Freddy. So I felt like they took a long time meandering, and it just didn't really. Sometimes it felt like they were redoing scenes exactly from the original, but then other times it was like they were trying to do their own thing. I'm kind of like pick a lane. Like, just do your reimagining, and that would be great. Or do a straight up remake and make it visceral and dirty. But it's like, it just seemed kind of confused, and just not great direction overall.
I would concur. All right, last thing I got here for you. Sorry, Birdie. I know all those things.
I'm okay.
I tried to be nice during the ranking.
I know Birdie got steamrolled over there with all those. But I just thought it was interesting because that is, my opinions exactly on all of those, and oftentimes people differ. They have those others.
Yeah, I get it, because if you're born in the late 90s and you saw the 2010 remake when you were like 12 or 13, like maybe it has more of an impact that the original would have on somebody like from my era. Like I didn't see, so the first one I saw was Freddy's Dead because I was probably like 12 when it came out, so it was in the pop culture consciousness, and at that time Freddy was pretty sanitized, and if I'm being frank, like he was for kids at that point. Totally. So to go back and watch the original, especially the first two where he's a lot creepier, I just think the remake kind of pales in comparison. But I mean, the first time I tried to watch it, I think I turned it off 15 minutes in. And then before I did the ranking, I was like, well, I have to watch it. So I rewatched all of them. And like, from watching the video, there was a whole bunch of shifting that went on.
Well, the last thing I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to give you a little challenge to do here. Okay. It's really not that hard. I mean, it's a little silly, but basically IGN, they had a list that popped out. They ranked all the top horror villains of all time. And what I'm going to do is ask you to guess what the top 5 are. And I think you probably get 3 of them pretty easy. The other 2 I don't know about. So just go ahead whenever you're ready and just start throwing some guesses out there, and I'll let you know if they make the list.
Strictly horror villain?
Yes, strictly horror villains.
So, I mean, you got to have Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger.
That's the top 3, believe it or not. Michael's number 1, Freddy's 2, Jason's 3.
Oh, wow. Chucky?
No.
Is Chucky on there? Wow. Because he's actually got something going.
Yeah, he was on the list. He was just farther down.
Ghostface?
These 2 are no, not Ghostface. I would think so too. Yeah, it gets even weirder. These last 2
it gets even weirder than that.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? Art the Clown? Is Art the Clown in there?
No,
okay,
not him either.
At least there's that. Leatherface. Sorry, I don't know how I missed
he didn't make it either.
What? I don't know. I'm stumped, man.
I'll give
Jigsaw.
you. No Jigsaw. I will give you a hint for one of them. Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott created one of them.
Alien?
Yeah, the Xenomorphs. That's at number 4. Number 5, I'll give you another hint. It's going to be, how can I say this? A classic, I guess you could say. One of the classics.
Norman Bates.
Farther back than that.
Oh. What? Farther back from Norman Bates.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Dracula or something.
Dracula's it. Number 5. Yeah. It. Hell yeah.
All right.
I thought the first 3, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then what the fuck's 4 and 5? I don't know.
I always forget. I forget about Dracula just because it's like, it doesn't seem like they've made a decent Dracula film since the Bram Stoker one. Right. So, I mean, we've had like other vampire movies, but Dracula is one of those guys. Like he was like the OG Michael Myers, you know, it's so interesting to think about what it's going to be like in a couple hundred years when people look back at Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger as if they are. I mean, at that point, they're just going to be great characters of literature, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, for example, we're going to get Halloween 78, Michael's After Another Sister, or A Nightmare on Elm Street 32, Freddy is Still Not Dead. And then we are still at Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
The last one we got was the one from 2009.
Yeah,
right.
Oh my gosh, we can't even get into that. Oh my goodness,
seriously. Man. Bertie, that's about it for me, man. That I think I'm good with that.
All right, Brad. Great questions there, Brad. Especially like the Xenomorphs and Dracula. That was random as hell to me. But you know what? The people speak, so we can't deny the people. So that's personal. That's me and Brad's personal question. So we're just gonna go like to the basics question of this thing. So we're just gonna ask you basic questions at this time. And Brad, if you want to go ahead and knock out like the first 2 big basic questions that we're gonna ask our Real Talk guests.
Yeah. So what's your favorite horror movie and what's your favorite non-horror movie?
Ooh, okay. That's a tough one. It's so easy to just say Halloween, right? When you're talking about your favorite horror movie. But I think the one that really transformed the way that I looked at film and made me want to, you know, learn more about the process and everything. The horror film that had the biggest effect on me is without a doubt, The Evil Dead. That movie just made me, you know, it was like punk rock, you know, this approach where it's a handful of people in the woods on a real location. It's not a set, and they're making it happen as people come and people go. Even if it's just 3 or 4 guys out there finishing the film, they found a way. And not only did they find a way, but it's really intriguing. It's interesting. It's really well shot and super creative in just the things that they tried out. So I feel like that's kind of where style comes from, is just when you try things, you know? So you see somebody like Sam Raimi that's known for his style of filmmaking, and I see all of those seeds and even, you know, a little bit more. I think that some of his ideas are pretty realized there, but man, that first Evil Dead film just blew my socks off. When I saw it the first time, I was hanging out with my friends in, I grew up in Juneau, Alaska. So I was hanging out there. We were in high school.
No shit. Did you really?
Yeah, so
that's
we watched
cool, man.
We watched the original Evil Dead. So I was chatting on MIRC at the time, and there was a buddy of mine out in Montreal that I was chatting with. He sang in like this pop punk band out there called Men of Steel, and he always told me that the Evil Dead's so great. So me and my friends went to Blockbuster. rented the first Evil Dead on VHS. Wait, maybe it was DVD. No, it was VHS back then. And we watched it and we were all like, oh my God, it freaked us. Like, we were just like, that was so much fun. And I was like, guys, I have a crazy idea. Blockbuster doesn't close for like another hour. Let's go down there. Let's rent Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and watch all 3 tonight. And so we stayed up till like 3 in the morning watching all 3 movies. And in the summer in Alaska, the sun starts coming up at like 3:30. So as we're sitting there, like laying down, trying to sleep, you know, you're like 16, 17, like you're so excited. You just saw this trio of movies that, you know, each one is different and just kind of blew your socks off in different ways. And I always think about that experience. Going forward from there, I would host like Evil Dead parties at my house for the remainder of high school, where I'd have people come over and we'd watch all 3 in the same night. So like a predecessor to all the stab stuff in the Scream movies. And yeah, the Evil Dead, man, it just blew the doors wide open. I've never made a film, but that's the movie that made me want to know how.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about your favorite non-horror movie?
Favorite non-horror? And some people say it is a horror, and I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm saying that it's like every genre of film. Jaws. Jaws is my favorite film of all time. It's suspenseful.
Yes, that's right. You want to do that debate real quick?
No, we're good. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Jaws. I think it's just, you know, I've watched it ever since I was a little kid. It got me interested in sharks. So I learned about sharks, you know, would go and rent National Geographic videos because Jaws made me interested. I've read the book like a whole bunch of times. I'm not a big reader, but I've read that book like, you know, 5 or 6 times. I do think the movie's better than the book, but the movie wouldn't exist without the book. So yeah, I mean, man, it's suspenseful, it's dramatic, it's very comedic in moments, but in like a real life way, and certainly horrific and thrilling as well. So yeah, for me, if I had to pick one, that's the one.
Hell yeah. So since again you're a big Evil Dead guy, so I'm actually very curious if it's going to win this particular question I'm going to ask here. What is your favorite horror franchise?
Yeah, it's probably got to be Evil Dead. I mean, if we're talking slashers, Halloween is my slasher series. Like Michael Myers is my boy. But if we're talking about like quality within a horror series, I think the Evil Dead is the strongest. To me, Evil Dead Rise is probably the weakest of the bunch, but still very entertaining and good. And I really like the TV show. I thought the TV show like really kind of pushed things from, I didn't expect it to get like as hardcore as it did. So I really appreciated that. And I liked that, you know, it's almost like that. The first film is still my favorite in the series, but you get that Evil Dead 2 kind of vibe, and you just turn the Darko meter up a little bit. So it's like not quite as comedic as Evil Dead 2. That's where the TV show landed. I think that's kind of the sweet spot. And that 2013 movie is amazing. Like I am so excited for Alien Romulus because I have such faith in Fede Alvarez. He knows what looks good. He knows how to build suspense. We already saw that in Don't Breathe and in The Evil Dead. I can only imagine. I quite possibly like. I think he has what it takes to make the best Alien film of all time. Like you know, and because to me that Evil Dead 2013 is right there after the original, and I understand the original doesn't look that good, you know. But it's like I say about punk rock. It's like sometimes, you know, I don't know how familiar you guys are with punk rock, but it's like you listen to a record like Milo Goes to College by the Descendants from 1982, and it sounds a little rough. And it sounds like they recorded in a garage, but the songs are so good. And that's how I feel about the Evil Dead. Like, I don't care that it looks rough. It's got so much passion and more creativity than like 90% of the movies that have ever been made ever. And so that's why it kind of gets that nod for me. Yeah.
Dude,
I could talk about Evil Dead for like 3 hours. So you have to tell me to shut up.
Oh no, that's okay. Hey, we might bring you on for part 2 of Real Talk with Davey Deathray, and we'll go all about the Evil Dead in the or even when we do a watch party on Goodwill, we'll bring you on for that for absolutely. So
it'll be part 3, and you'll have like 5 o'clock shadow. You'll be smoking cigarettes. We're for
Crow
part
feet.
3 because Davey won't stop talking. Shit.
No, dude, that's so awesome, man. So, to go along with that, so I'm actually curious again if Evil Dead's going to win on this. What is your scariest movie experience or experiences?
Scariest. Yeah, that's different because while I love the Evil Dead, it doesn't necessarily scare me. The Changeling with George C. Scott from 1980
Oh, I know what's in your
scares
game
the
ready to
shit
go
out of
to.
me. Like that scares me quite a bit. I like those kind of like haunted, like a spirit trying to like get justice for what happened to it when it was on Earth. So even something like What Lies Beneath by Robert Zemeckis with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, it has that whole vibe of like this Hitchcockian like feel where you like for half of that movie, you think that you know that he's this really nice guy that's not this creepy killer dude. You know, everything that happens in the movie, you don't want to believe that, but like as stuff really ramps up and you find out what's really going on, that story just gets like more and more interesting. So like that one really freaks me out. Even a movie like Vertigo, which isn't really a horror movie, the first time I watched Vertigo, like it really threw me for a loop because are you guys familiar with that one?
I have not seen that one, but I know Brad has. Yeah.
You get halfway through the movie and it almost feels like you get to a point in the movie where you're like, wait, didn't I see this? And the, like Hitchcock puts you in the character's shoes where like he starts seeing things that look like deja vu, and you start asking yourself is like, why are we reliving this? So like any kind of filmmaker that can like put you right there, you know, and take you along that experience. So there's something really like uneasy feeling about Vertigo, but really satisfying too. So yeah, you know, it's tough. Like scary is tough, right? Because the older you get, it's tougher to get scared.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, I was scared of like Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Like that's what scared me as a kid. And then, you know, you get older and it's more about like the kind of the stuff that sticks with you, the stuff that like a couple days later, you're like, oh man, that image, you know, really freaked me out. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. And Brad, before I go to my last question here, do you have any questions, basic questions you want to ask?
No, I'm good. I got
All right.
mine.
No problem at all. Just want to make sure. And just a little bit like for this last basic question, just to kind of shift back to the content creating here. Again, I know you just like recently like really starting to work on your channel. So is there like a channel, like a video or a project so far that you've been the most proud of?
That's a good one. You know, it's been a little while, but I'm really proud of my Black Christmas coverage from last December because that was when I was like, I'm going to do a video a week, and I was doing pre-recorded. So, you know, working a day job, doing pre-recorded. So it was like, I'm going to watch the movies a couple times. I'm going to take my own pictures. So I would like wait until it was dark. I'd pull everything up on the TV. I've got like a nice 75-incher. I pulled out the Canon. I was getting my own stills because I knew what I wanted to talk about. So I was like really pouring myself. Like each video took 4 or 5 days to make, you know? And that was kind of the moment where I was like, I'm going to do a video a week, see how that goes. I really want to get 300 subs before New Year's Day. So it was sort of like this race to the finish. I had never seen the 2019 or the 06 version of the film, you know, before going into that. And I'm a big fan of the original. So I would say like, that's what I'm most proud of because I think that's what led to greater success here in 2024. And just sort of made me, I felt like I finally got it. Like I got a lot better at editing, just quicker with the pre-recorded stuff. And it sort of opened me up to being like, you know what, maybe I can just hop on with a webcam and do something sort of off the cuff here too. So, you know, you have to kind of work up to that. I didn't want to start a channel and then just start doing rankings right away without building a foundation first. I didn't want to reach out for collaborations or reach out to content creators that I really adored before I kind of earned some stripes and like got things humming, because by the time I was like able to reach out to people, I wanted them to sort of see what I was doing and at least see that there's something there, you know, and see that I'm not just some schlub that, you know, can't talk on camera or anything, like whatever, you know. So those Black Christmas reviews were massive in like making me feel like, okay, I can do this. I can be myself. I can be charming and cover the things that I love, and I can also like jump into new things that I've never experienced and find a way to articulate those feelings with an audience. So that was huge. And I even got Damien Maffei from Strangers Pray at Night found out about me through a Black Christmas review and started following me on YouTube. He was like, man, you got this, like, don't worry about it. And I'm just like, this is crazy. He's like, I'm a huge Black Christmas fan. So he saw my review of the original film. And I'm just like, that kind of stuff sort of, you know, you take a step back and you're like, shit, if I never started doing this, like, I wouldn't have had this really cool interaction with somebody that's, part of, you know, a movie that's so beloved in the horror community and an actor that's still like active in the genre. So yeah, that's got to be it.
Yeah, nice. Damien Maffei is such a cool dude. And just in case if anybody, for some reason, doesn't know who Damien Maffei is, he is the man in the mask, and Brad's one of his favorite movies of all time, The Strangers Pray at Night. Brad, shush.
I thought they called him Scarecrow, Bertie.
No, we're not doing that right now. But anyways,
it's Cillian Murphy.
It's the man in the mask from The Strangers Pray at Night, and he was the devil in the criminally underrated movie The Haunt from 2019 that Shudder released first, and it's gotten a lot of love. So Damien Maffei, that's he's such a cool dude. I got a chance to meet him at a convention, and yeah, he's just such a good dude. So I'm glad you brought his name up. He needs a lot more respect and a lot more roles.
Yeah, and I think he's part of that Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that came out.
He is.
And you bring up a really good point, Brett. It's really awesome when you know, people in that world are, and when people in show business are accessible. You know, so you really like seeing that. You know, it's like, you know, you have to be respectful of their time, of course, and they can't, you know, please everybody, but it is really awesome when people are, you know, just you're able to get in there for a second, say your piece, and kind of, you know, develop a little bit of a relationship, you know, between fan and performer. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Hell yeah, dude. So that is our basic questions segment here. And our next segment we're going to do here, we're going to actually hand you the ranks, because this is the part now where the interviewer becomes the interviewee. So you get to ask us any question to your heart's desire, and we have to be real and give you a real answer.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. So you can give me a non-horror and a horror answer, but I want to know from each one of you guys, which franchise, horror and non-horror, if you had the ability to like kind of take over the franchise and either relaunch it or put it in the direction that you want to go, like which franchise would you assume is sort of like executive producer? Like, I'm going to save this thing. I'm going to like point it in the right direction. Like, which is the horror franchise that you'd love to do that with, and which is the non-horror franchise that you would like to, you know, usher back into the new generation?
And just to get a clear indication on that question real quick, are we talking about like if we took over it right now, or just like at the very beginning? Oh, okay. So
no,
now.
Yeah. If you take it over right now, so something like, you know, Terminator, or even like Fast and the Furious, whatever, Batman, whatever. And then you could even do like a Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, which that ball is being bobbled right now. So who knows?
All right. Well, Brad, do you want to go first on this?
Yeah, for me, I mean, for horror, I'm thinking Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, I think there's an opportunity to just take it back to being really scary again. And that's what I would like to, you know, I got ideas that I think would be awesome to see. So yeah, I think that would be the one, because it's gone, you know, off the rails a couple different times, and different, you know, it got super comedic, and they tried to remake it, and to me that was a huge failure. But I think there's still a completely different way you could tell the story that we haven't seen before, that would be scarier than it's ever been. And I think that would be really interesting to play around with, for sure.
So how would you do it? Like, which way would you take it?
I would take it really dark and gritty, like, you know, like an A24 kind of thing, you know, where because you're talking about this dude, Freddy Krueger. He's freaking chopping people up in their dreams. Yeah, that's scary. You could play around with that for a while. Like, you know, you could do a whole movie without even knowing he's real, and just really kind of playing into like the psychological aspect of it, of not being able to sleep, and not, you know, like people are fucking dying in all these weird ways, and kind of investigating that, and you know, trying to, you know, really taking the time before he's revealed and he's the reason why, and and then still, you know, going in and playing with some of the more psychological aspects of it, as opposed to him just being the really super charismatic, you know, guy, which I think is great on its own, but I think there's room to make it a little bit more scary, taking it a different route.
So you'd go a little bit more like detective noir, like Seven kind of thing, like, or maybe we're seeing like the aftermath. Maybe we don't even see Freddy till like the final act in any sort of like, you know, full kind of way. Pull like a little bit of a Jaws, like give little hints early on and don't reveal until the third act.
100%. I think if you play, I mean, they would never do this because Freddy's gonna, you know, he's the reason why people are gonna go see the movie. But if it were completely different, like, you know, if somebody was telling the story for the very first time, you could have 2 acts of the movie where you're like, we don't know if there's just people killing themselves or if there's something else going on that's more supernatural. Kind of like, you know, we saw with Sinister and stuff. Like, you know, you get the videos and stuff, and like it's just like, we don't know if there's a supernatural thing going on or if there's a serial killer out there. Like, you know, you don't know until the end. So I think it could be really dark. You know, it could be you know, just something that's just, it gets under your skin. And then you introduce the Freddy aspect to it. But yeah, I think I always thought that, the noir thing, you know, investigative, like Seven would be a really good comparison. Like you said, I think that would.
And then maybe in the second movie, it's like, all right, cat's out of the bag. Now we can show Freddy, you know, it's like you can, like, I think that's an important thing too, as these movies go on, is to think about like, well, maybe the second movie just has a totally different feel. And that way you kind of avoid those straight comparisons to the original, you know, because you're not doing a rinse and repeat, which they didn't really do a rinse and repeat originally, which was, you know, pretty cool. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that idea of like, you know, cops are like finding people in their beds, like, you know, mutilated in crazy ways with no evidence. So there's like these string of murders that are unrelated, no suspects, no evidence really, you know, of anything other than the people being there. So it's like spontaneous combustion, except for it's spontaneous. This person was turned into sushi overnight. You know, it's like that could be really cool. Yeah. And you could even, you know, the crazy thing is you could set it even further back, because you could always lead it to 1984 is when he's back as a spirit. So you could take it back to like 1970 and Freddy's just starting killing. You know what I mean? Like it's you could really play with that time. Do the Joker movie meets Seven, but it's Freddy.
Yeah, something like that would be really cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Brett? What's your horror movie franchise that you would bring back?
Oh, dude, it's so easy. It's Friday the 13th, so we could just get something Friday the 13th back at the theater. Like, I don't even care if it's even a bad Friday the 13th movie, which I'm sure if I was in charge of it, it probably would be bad. Not Manhattan and not Manhattan bad, because Manhattan, well, come on, man, like it's starting to get its cult following there. But like, I would just do something like just to finally put something back into the theater. I'll even like, you know what, I'm at a point now where if Vincent DeSanti wants to be the director, if that's what it's going to take, I'll do that, because he's done a great job with his Friday the 13th fan films.
Oh my god!
So like, or shoot, even like I'm at a point now where I even willing to put Braden in the director's chair. Say, Braden, just make me a Friday the 13th movie, all funded and everything, because he's doing a great job with his Halloween series that he's doing right now for fan films. But I'm at a point now where I'm so desperate, I'm willing to do anything just to get Friday the 13th back on the big screen where it legitimately belongs.
Yeah, it's odd that I think I really like the 2009 movie, like all things considered. It's not perfect, but man.
Oh yeah, and I'll bring back Derek Mears, elements. By the way.
Yeah, Derek Mears, it's a shame. Like Friday the 13th fans were robbed by not having at least a couple more pictures with him as Jason, because he's got the look. I think that more of it works in Friday 2009 than doesn't work for me personally. And yeah, absolutely. I think bringing in Vin and guys like Braden, just people that, what kind of blows me away with all the news that came out is the people that are the rights holders, they don't even seem like aware that the reason why Jason is still in the consciousness is because of people like Vin, you know, and the other people that are making these fan films. In their little blurb, they talked about like, well, we noticed like Jason popping up in TikToks, and I'm like, oh, you guys are so missing the boat here. Like, you have no idea what you're missing out on. You just need to get these guys in a room. Like, are you that full of pride that you can't just get them in a room and figure out how to put Jason back on the big screen. Because yeah, like you're saying, Brett, like we need him out there, but it needs to work, right? Because the last thing we want is one movie and then another 15 years.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, God, my God, there's like no bad juju in this podcast.
No, I think Jason deserves it. I think all the fans deserve it. I've got such a soft spot for Friday the 13th. Our friggin' Wi-Fi is called Camp Crystal Lake. My wife and I had our first date on a Friday the 13th and got married on a Friday the 13th. So it's like, it's a big, you know, it's like one of those things. And even like I said it in the chat the other day with you guys, you know, we'll be like, you hearing me, Junior? Like we say that in the house all the time. And not only does Kate get the reference, but like she's the one throwing them out like half of the time. It's you know, awesome. Proud husband moments there.
Oh, well, I just thought of a great idea for a Halloween couple outfit.
Yeah, what's that?
Junior and
Junior and Ethel. That would be amazing. You hurt me, Paul.
Shut up and eat your stew. What the fuck are you? What the fuck you want?
Oh yeah, that is one ugly fucking man. Or
oh my God, man. But and that quickly answering the second part of your question with the non-horror. It's a double tie. The first one being Batman, and just let Matt Reeves do anything anything that he wants to do with the Batman world, let him have it. And then the other one is I'm going to take over Indiana Jones, and I'm going to make Dial of Destiny non-relevant. We're going to forget that piece of shit of a film, and we're going to make Shia LaBeouf the next Indiana Jones, like how it was supposed to be done.
That's what's up. Dial of Destiny was dreadful. It made Crystal Skull look
beg
good.
The entire
and Crystal Skull's not good.
For the entirety of the 2 hours, I was sitting in the theater. I'm like, when is this movie going to end? Like, I didn't mind the beginning with the flashback because I thought that was the best thing about the film. But everything else was literally dog shit from a horse's ass. Yeah,
and I thought like Phoebe Waller-Bridge wasn't as obnoxious as I thought it was going to be. I thought they were really going to lean into the like, oh, you're just an old expired dude. But the things that really threw me off is I was like, why are they dragging Indy back in time? Only for the audience? Because these guys opened fire on everyone else. What do they don't need Indy. At that point, they would just shoot him in the head and leave him on the tarmac. You know? And then I was thinking at the end of the movie, I'm like, so they go back to like Syracuse 212. I'm like, it would have been so much more interesting if they actually did go back to Austria 1939 and Indiana Jones, in this weird twist of fate, has to prevent Hitler from getting assassinated because the only way the good guys win is for Hitler to live. Like I'm like, that would have been really cool, and it would have like brought some stakes to it, you know? And like, just felt like, that movie, Dial of Destiny, what the hell? That's a good pick. That's a good pick, Brett. Who would you have play Indiana Jones?
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf. So he would just be Mutt.
Yeah, we take what we did from the Kingdom to Crystal Skull, where obviously it was supposed to be hinted that he was supposed to be the next Indy, and let him just do what he needed to in the next, maybe a movie or two, not like major. I just want to fix the wrong and make it right.
Sure. And they don't even it's funny, they have a time device in Dial of Destiny. Never once is Indy like, I want to go back and save my son. So they like completely miss that too. It's like the writers didn't even know what script they were writing. Brad, how about you?
I guess non-horror franchise. You said Terminator. I'd probably go there. They've missed a lot. I'd like to get that back on track. I don't have any specific plans or ideas, but it'd be nice to do something more in line with the original movie, you know, something more, a little bit more gritty, a little less blockbuster and more, you know, kind of just like, you know, fucking attacking or fighting robots coming from the future to fucking kill your unborn son kind of stuff, you know, classic shit. You like,
I'm picking up on it. You really like that kind of noir sort of vibe.
I do, because
I think everyone calls the first Terminator a slasher, and I see like a little bit of those elements. Like, I do think that Cameron was inspired by Halloween for like the music. It's a very John Carpenter sounding soundtrack and all that kind of stuff, and a couple of the elements. But I like, for me, when I watch the original Terminator, which is my favorite in the series, I get those kind of noir sort of vibes because Reese is sort of like that detective sort of role. You know, it's a really cool, interesting kind of narrative that they don't really go back to. I think the first two movies are strong, but after that, the series kind of falls off for me. Yeah, that's a good pick.
But man, Davey, that was a very great question for our the interviewer becomes the interviewee. So great question, my friend. And now we're gonna actually do something fun here. We had a lot of fun doing this with That Horror Couple, and now it's time for your turn. This is our fire segment.
You're not on fire, Ricky Bobby. I'm on fire. Help me, Jesus. Help me, Jewish God. Help me, Allah. Help me, Tom Cruise. Oh, help me, Oprah Winfrey.
So I that's never going to get old for me. But Brad, do you want to describe like the rules of the fire segment?
So Bertie's going to put a timer on. 1.5 minutes, I think, is the timer. We're going to ask you as many questions so we can get into that time. What we're looking for is basically 1-word responses. Mostly they're all set up to have they're either going to be like an either or, yes or no, or something that you can answer with 1 word.
Everyone that's watching the interview is like, you think you're going to get a 1-word answer out of this guy?
Well, yeah. So that goal is going to be to basically get through as many questions as we can in that time period. So
all right.
And they're random. It could be movies, food, whatever, anything. No rules when the fire segment. No rules.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. So Brad, whenever you're ready for me to hit the clock, I will hit the clock.
Hit it, Chewy.
All right, Davey. Here we go.
You prefer Star Wars prequels or sequels?
Sequels.
The Arizona Cardinals or the Phoenix Suns?
Suns.
Would you rather stay at the Overlook Hotel or the Bates Motel?
Bates.
Chipotle or Taco Bell?
Taco Bell.
What's the best horror remake?
The Thing, 82.
A xenomorph or a predator?
Predator.
Jaws or Evil Dead?
Why'd you have to do that? Evil Dead.
Would you rather have the power to teleport or the power to read minds?
Teleport.
Would you rather fight 1 Chucky-sized Pennywise or 5 Pennywise-sized Chuckies?
1 Chucky-sized Pennywise.
Appetizers or desserts?
Appetizers.
Favorite pizza topping?
Sausage.
Beer or liquor?
Beer.
Would you rather be chased by Michael Myers or Leatherface?
Michael Myers.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Most anticipated horror movie for 2024 that hasn't come out yet?
Long Legs.
A beach setting or a mountain setting?
Beach.
Nice. There you go. So yes, guys,
specifically.
So that is our fire segment where we really did put our guest in the hot seat. That is. So that's what I'm going to start calling this, the hot seat there. So before we wrap this up, because we've had you here for a while and we've loved to talk to you, and I wish we had a couple more hours, but we'll save it for a part 2 or part 3 in the future. So the last question I have before we wrap everything up, because me and Brad have this ultimate debate we're doing right now, and so far it is 3-1. Hopefully you can make it 4. So the last question on this podcast is, do you like the middle part of the brownie or the edge part of the brownie?
I'm an edge guy, man.
I like it. I like this guy, man.
I'm an edge guy and I'm a corner piece of cake. You get more frosting on the corner piece of cake. I also like how a little bit more of the more cooked edge just kind of balances out the gooey part in the center. You still get a gooey part on the edge piece of a brownie. It's just not all gooey.
Just barely.
There's more diversity in the piece. You know,
I like it. Yeah, I like working through and just getting to enjoy it a little bit more too. Yeah. I won't say no to a middle piece. Do you have a middle piece of the brownie you could share with me right now?
Well, no, I'm not going to share any with you now. So dig up.
I know. I'm striking out with you, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love you too. It breaks my heart that I had to say all those mean things about 2010's The Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I like
okay. I got a receipt.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I got a receipt. I just put it right here in my pocket. So I'll cash it when the time is right. But no, I'm just messing with you, man. So Brad, anything else you want to discuss before we just wrap everything home?
No, I think we're good, man. David, we really appreciate you coming on. It was a lot of fun, and I see, yeah, obviously you have your YouTube channel. You're on, is this Instagram and X and stuff as well? Is that other places they can find you, or is
Yeah,
that
you can. Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me on, I'm not very active on TikTok or Letterboxd, but I do have accounts there. I need to get up on that stuff, but it's tough when you have a full-time job and all that kind of stuff. I'm
Mhm.
sure you guys get that.
Oh,
Yeah, but more active on Instagram and Twitter/X. And then of course, yeah, on YouTube. I'm really easy to find. You just look up Davey Deathray and you're going to find me. That's the great thing about it. And yeah, I'd encourage people to, we have a whole bunch of live stuff, but the pre-recorded material is pretty fun as well. So yeah, coming up, I've got Late Night with the Davey is like my brand new late night talk show. It's every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's live. So we bring in the live audience through the chat and everything. And we usually, it's content creators, but also like authors or filmmakers, independent shop owners, musicians. So it's sort of like a late night talk show just here on YouTube. I noticed there was like a bit of a void in the middle of the week for later live material. So, just kicked that off last week. That's continuing this coming week. I'm going to be on Sledgehammer Horror talking about my first horror film, which is really cool. That's going to drop on Friday, May 24th. I'm not sure where that falls when this is going to get dropped, but yeah, just moving forward with more franchise rankings, live streams, episodes of Movie Punks with my guy Foz Rotten out in West Virginia, where once a month we cover a movie that to us has like a punk rock edge. So we just got finished celebrating Dawn of the Dead on its 45th anniversary of reaching Hollywood, California on May 11th. So you can check that out. Yeah, just talking about movies, a whole lot of blah, 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 but fun kind of blah, blah, blah. And I love getting to know the audience and getting to know guys like yourself. So yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to get to know you a bit better and get to be just a bit more wacky in an interview like this.
Hell yeah. And that's what the kind of the same we're creating on this podcast. It's just we're just hanging on a couch, having a beer and just talking. And
That's what's
hopefully
up.
hopefully we did a great job of that. And I don't want you to forget this, but you recently just opened up your Patreon, and I believe you actually opened up like a Teespring shop zone. If you want to promote that real quick.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, just started a Patreon, and that's going to be behind the scenes kind of stuff. We're also going to, of course, debut pre-recorded videos beforehand on Patreon. And then also, like, if you want to see me review a movie that I've never seen, I do reviews occasionally on the channel, but I'm not strictly like a movie reviewer. But if there's something that you want me to check out, there's a lot I haven't seen. So it's a really great opportunity to share that with an exclusive team over there on Patreon. And then, yeah, the Teespring shop is open. There's shirts, fanny packs, pint glasses, mugs for each one of the 3 main shows on my channel. So there's Movie Punks, there is a Late Night with the Davey, and then Movie Date with Davey and Kate. So there's merch for all of those shows there on the Teespring. So hopefully that link is going to be right down there below by the time the video airs, and you guys can check that out. I marked everything down from what Teespring wanted me to have it, and then until June 15th, there's a 10% discount code that you can use as well. So yeah, that's me shilling my shill.
Hell yeah, buddy. So we'll have all those links to all your socials and Patreon and Teespring, all that in the comment section or the description down below. And where can you find this podcast? How, again, you can listen to this on YouTube under the Play podcast section. We're also on Spotify, Apple Pod, and even Podbean. That is our source for providing us with this podcast. Not only that, they also, that's a source where you can access podcast episodes as well, and we are available on that as well. All that is also in the description and the all that down below. But Davey, again, thank you so much for your time. We're going to go ahead and close out for another episode of Real Talk. We got more coming in store. We're going to do our best to try to do 2 a month, but again, we're not going to rush them because we want to keep up with the quality of this show. So hopefully we're going to provide 2 episodes in June. If not, just definitely expect 1. So we're going to close on out here. Davey, thank you so much. And we will see you all for the next episode of Real Talk. So good night, everybody, or good evening, or good morning, wherever you're from.